Does cold calling still work? Well, this is the conversation I think that non-salespeople, marketers, people trying to convince us otherwise, love to talk about, love to write blogs about, and love to try and get salespeople like you and I to try to convince us that, listen, cold calling, it's old school, stop it. You gotta start doing social media, you gotta start doing other things. Although important, you do have to build a personal brand. You do have to build content on social media. There's no doubt, and I'll never debate that. But what we want to look at today is the question, is cold calling still effective in 2021? So what we have to do first is remove all the emotion. We've got to remove all the opinions, and we've got to look at the facts. And what's interesting about this is there was a study done by a company called Rain Sales Training. And I'm going to go through some of the studies with you guys here in just a second. But first, I want to define cold calling, okay? So as I'm making this video in 2021, I want you to understand as you watch this video what we're talking about when we're talking about cold calling. You see, I think when you hear the word cold calling, or when somebody uses the word cold calling, they're talking about picking up a phone book, randomly calling people, and trying to sell a product or service. That's what I believe the general population, or a lot of salespeople, a lot of marketers, a lot of people, a lot of business owners, when they think of the word cold calling, I believe that's what they think of. Now, here's how I define cold calling. Cold calling to me is based on new technology, right? This is why I think that, and I make the argument that this strategy is still highly effective. We use new technology to create a targeted list of prospects. Let's stop for 1 second. Targeted list of prospects is the key word here. There's all kinds of new technology platforms that allow salespeople like you and I to create a list via this technology of consumers or prospects that are already in the market to buy our product and or service. As an example, if you're a real estate agent, okay, like most of you are, it's really what I've spent my career doing is teaching other real estate agents how to be successful. You can get a list of for sale by owners. These are people who we know with 100% certainty are looking to sell their home. You can get a list of expired listings. These are people who try to sell but for whatever reason fail to sell. If you're an insurance salesperson, you can get a list of people that are looking at quotes from other competitors. Okay, so right there, to me, when I think about cold calling in the new age format, what I'm talking about is creating a targeted list of prospects who we already know want to consume our product or service. That's a key thing. Rather than picking up a phone book and calling random people, and certainly this is not a phone book, this is my new book, Reverse Selling. If you haven't got it, make sure you get that on Amazon. You can go grab a copy of that. So that's number one, is the targeted list of people. So when you communicate via a phone to these prospects, it's completely different than what we were talking about 20, 30, 40 years ago when you were just picking up the phone and calling random people. So that's how I define cold calling. Number two, let's get into the research. The first thing the study found was that 71% of consumers said they wanted to hear from a salesperson, listen closely, they wanted to hear from a salesperson when they had a need. So let's really look at this point. Okay, this is removing the emotion, this is removing your opinion, my opinion. Is cold calling effective? Is it not effective? We're removing that for a second. The study went out there and communicated with the consumers, with the population. So 71% said, listen, not only will I accept the phone call, I'll give them an opportunity to earn my business. I'll hear them out. I'll see what they have to say. This is really key. This is a key stat right here. 82%, listen closely, 82% of the people who accepted the phone call from a salesperson who was in the market to consume a product or service, 82% said they would accept a meeting with a salesperson face to face who they had no prior relationship with. Okay, so this is really, really important. These three stats, this study was done in 2021. This wasn't done in 1984. This was done in 2021. This is what the study showed. These are real consumers. Now, fourth stat, and then we're going to move on to how you can make your cold calls better. 41% of top salespeople said that the phone and making outbound phone prospecting attempts was their number one lead generation strategy. Number one, 41%. That's one of the largest largest percentages of all salespeople in all industries across the globe said that making outbound prospecting phone calls was their number one way to generate new clients and new business. Number two on that list, of course, was repeat and referral business, okay? Communicating with past clients. The key thing about that was the number one way they stayed in communication with their past clients, you guessed it, the phone. So now I want to talk about, now that we know with 100% certainty through studies like Rain did, you can go, I'll link to their studies beneath this video. You can go check it out for yourself. Now that we know the studies show that it's not only effective, not only that is it efficient, now let's talk about how you can become more successful doing it. So there are 5 tips I want to leave you with in today's video that will make your outbound phone prospecting strategy more successful, more efficient, more effective. Number 1, and we talked about it at the beginning of the video, but the next time you decide to make outbound prospecting phone calls, we're not just calling random people. We're not just calling random prospects. There's all kinds of tools and technology out there that will allow you to create a targeted list. So if you're a real estate agent, I don't even care if you're a real estate agent. If you're a salesperson selling any product, any service, there are tools and technology that will allow you to build a prospecting list of people that we know with certainty want to buy your product or service. I mean, that's step number 1. I mean, that right there, by the way, I make the argument we're no longer cold calling. We just went through the studies. The studies show that when a consumer wants a product or service, that they want to hear from salespeople. The vast majority, 71%, said, yes, I want to hear from salespeople. Okay, well, step 1 is let's call the people that are in the market to consume our product or service, right? No brainer. Number 2, when the prospect picks up the phone, you must mirror and match the prospect. Well, Brandon, what are you talking about, mirror and match? I'm talking about tonality, and mostly I'm talking about personality style. So there are 4 personality styles. I'm not going to get deep into that on today's video. I'll make another video about that, but you need to know them. Is this person a driver personality? Are they an amiable? Are they an analytical? Or are they an expressive that who loves to talk? Well, you've got to listen for that because you need to match and mirror the prospect's personality. Why? People love talking to people that they are like. It's the fastest way to connect with the prospect on a prospecting phone call. Number 3, immediately, and this is what I teach all of the real estate agents that I coach, you immediately want to introduce yourself, explain what you do, and then give the prospect the illusion of control. Brandon, what do you mean illusion of control? Can you give us an example of what that might sound like? 100%. So you call a prospect, ring, 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 prospect says hello. You say, hey, my name is Brandon. I'm a local real estate agent, and I'm not sure now's the right time, but I was hoping to tell you why I called, and then you can decide if we need to talk further or more. Fair enough? And it's a great way to open a prospecting phone call because what we've used in Neuro Linguistics is called a pattern interrupt. Prospects are not used to being in control when salespeople call them. You're giving them that illusion of control, which the prospect is taken back. Okay, they say to themselves, wow, like I'm controlling this. And more times than not, the prospect's gonna respond with, sure, what's up? How can I help? And then you can get right into your conversation. Tip number 4, we've got to focus on asking questions and stop using statements. I tell my coaching clients all the time, telling is not selling. Selling is a process of asking Socratic style questions. When you ask questions over the phone, you put the prospect in a position to talk and you put yourself in a position to listen. That's when you know a sales call is going the right way. When the prospect is doing most of the talking, you're doing most of the listening, and the takeaway, if you're taking notes, which I hope you are, the person asking questions is the person in control. Tip number 5, focus on setting the appointment, not the sale. Okay, so for most of you, when you make an outbound prospecting phone call, it's very unlikely that you're going to close the sale on one phone call, one attempt, one conversation with a brand new prospect who you've never talked to before. It's very unlikely. So what you want to focus on is setting the appointment or the next step in your sales process, okay? Too many amateur salespeople are focused, they're attached to the sale, and they end up losing the opportunity. Focus on moving the conversation forward to the next step in your sales process. The prospecting phone call is designed to move the prospect from point A to point B. If the purpose of the call is not to close the sale, let's not even go down that trail at all. Let's not go down that path at all. Let's focus on getting the prospect from point A to point B. For most of you, it's a face-to-face appointment. So structure your entire call on doing just that. So I want to know your thoughts, okay? If you're a real estate agent, for sure. If you're in another sales business, that's fine. In the comments section beneath this video, I want to know a couple things. 1, do you make outbound prospecting phone calls on a regular basis? If you do, you should go and grab my new book, Reverse Selling, off Amazon. It's going to teach you step by step exactly what the title says, how real estate agents can turn cold calls into clients. And then if you are making phone calls, what are you finding that's working and what are you struggling with the most? I would love to hear from you guys. I hope today's video gives you some clarity and confidence that the phone is not dead. It's the most valuable tool we have in sales.